All right. Experts and eggs. Oh, this is a fucking cool email here. Actually, I read this one before the podcast here. Dear Bill, I'm with you on the experts' problems. I'm a lab scientist with 35 years of experience. I've worked with, not for, the FDA. I've consulted for drug companies and food companies in over a half dozen different concentrations. I'm what you would call an expert, but most of the people in my field should really be called know-it-alls. A lot of these experts often change sides and their recommendations routinely follow the interests of who's writing the check. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how the fuck people live their lives like that. That you would literally change your opinion on something because you now work for somebody like, people are giving this food to their kids. How could you knowingly say something wrong or not even give a fuck about what you were saying? The almighty dollar. Science requires questions. Real science welcomes questions, answers them gladly, and says, we don't know when something is unknown. Yeah, that's why science is way more interesting to me than religion. Like, what do they always say in religion? Like, that's not for us to know, but for him to say, and you'll find out when you die. Can we have some more money, please? How refreshing would it be in, like, religion? Hey, Father, what happens when you croak? You know what? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea if you go to a happy place, if you're just dead, if you get punished for being bad. I have no fucking idea. I don't get any of that shit. I don't get anything about religion. I don't get the whole fact that, like, what if you are a good person and then something so fucking horrible happens to you as a kid, you end up being fucked up, and then you just live a fucked up life. And then what, you go to hell for the rest of your life because of something that happened to you when you were a kid? It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's just like, why do bad things happen to children? Why do they see domestic violence? Why do they get beaten? Why do they get molested? Why does all of that shit happen? And then, like, there's no help for those kids. And then they go out into the fucking world and, then they start acting like an asshole. And then you die, and then God's mad at you when he made the fucking child molester to begin with. But then he blames and says, oh, no, it was the devil. It was the devil. And you listen to the devil, you fucking so-and-so, so now I'm going to burn you forever? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. As opposed to science, which goes like, okay, this is the X factor. This is the answer. We're going to try to go back to the question, or here's the question, and we're going to try to work our way out to the answer, and all of this shit has to fucking check out. And when it all checks out, then they have the answer. But then they're also still open to the fact that in the future, they might realize that the way that they got to the answer, there was some fly in that ointment, and that needs to be adjusted so that they can come to the new right answer. Right? I don't know. Anyway, when all of a sudden eggs were considered bad for you. Okay, so people who didn't hear the other podcast, I was like, in my lifetime, eggs have been good for you, bad for you, good for you. And now I feel like they're starting to come back around where I'm starting to hear some chatter that they might be bad again. So this person says, when all of a sudden eggs were considered bad for you, there was little pushback by academics who should have been questioning why suddenly the egg was bad. Where were the studies and tests? Well, there were very few, and they cherry-picked the information to say the cholesterol was bad. But science had known about different types of cholesterols, and eggs shouldn't have been considered a problem. So basically, they were good cholesterol. People ate eggs thousands of years before all the heart diseases were as prevalent as they are now. And of course, we found out that the sugar industry paid off groups like the FDA to recommend low-fat, high-carb diets. Can you imagine working for the fucking FDA, and they come in there with that suitcase full of cash, and then you go out there and fucking send out all this misinformation that causes people to have fucking heart disease? It's unfucking believable. Why aren't they held accountable? Who is in the FDA? Who are these people? You have no fucking idea. I guess the FDA needs to start putting out fucking food specials so people can hold them accountable. Is it wise to be skeptical of experts in a lot of sponsored fields? It is wise to be skeptical of, air quote, experts in a lot of sponsored fields. Experts are increasingly losing their expertise There's a great video of a lifelong environmentalist slash farmer slash old timer who talks about dealing with young experts who don't go into the field or believe anything unless it's in a book that's been peer reviewed, i.e. signed off on by those in charge. All right, so I'll give you the name of this thing. Alan Savory. Savory? ALLENSAVORY. What is science? Check that one out if you can. And I'll tell you, one of the worst things is that they're going to make mushrooms that help me so much just on 2 trips. That those things will eventually become legal, and the fucking pharmaceutical industry, I guarantee you, will immediately, one of the first things they'll do so it tastes better is they're going to put fucking sugar in it, like they do with fucking those goddamn gummies and all of that stuff. Like I don't know shit about science and all that, but I can tell you right now, weed is, since it's become legal, is probably way more worse for you than it was back in the day when you had to smoke an entire bag just to feel a little fucked up. And from what I heard the other day, like all modern medicines are part of the mushroom coaching tree, and that they're going to go in and for profit fuck that up and make taking mushrooms now have side effects that need to be treated by their fucking drugs. It's so fucking evil, and none of them get held accountable, and they're literally killing people and fucking with nature. You know, the fact that a group of fucking people can go out and like change, like have biochemically engineered food. They're literally fucking with the food supply. It's a terrorist act, I believe, and nothing happens to them.